Ever wondered how investing changes before and after your paychecks stop? That's what we're going to break down in this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the True Wealth Retirement Show. We have met before. I'm Planner Mike, a certified financial planner professional and owner of True Wealth Financial. I believe that retirement should be prosperous, enjoyable, and purposeful. This is a show that's dedicated to helping Christians retire with confidence and clarity so that they'll be freer to serve God and live the life that they truly desire. If you're watching this show just as it comes out, welcome to the month of July. I hope you have a good 4th of July weekend coming up here. Hey, so in July, I want to take some time and really focus our conversations on the second pillar of the True Wealth Total Retirement System, and that is smart investing. Ah, yes, investing. It's the engine to your retirement plan. And just like the engine of a car, it's what propels you forward. But a lot of times, investing focuses on the here, the now, the tactical, the hot tips. Really what I want to do here is I want to kind of zoom out and give you a larger perspective and a larger view of investing. Really open up the aperture, especially as it pertains to investing. Often I meet with a lot of people and they find themselves somewhat boxed in retirement. And it's because of the choices that they made prior to retirement. And I don't want that to happen to you. So here's the reality. What I believe is that the more you know about what's coming in the future, what's around the proverbial bend, if you will, the better informed decisions that you can make today. So because of that, I want to talk about the two phases of investing, before and after. I want to talk about how there's a dependency from one upon the other, and really the major differences of both phases. I also want to start doing something else and share a retirement litmus test use case from Tom and Kay. And of course, we will close with a micro action to help hopefully get you one step closer to confidently retiring. So as I said, smart investing is our second pillar in the True Wealth Total Retirement System. The whole system is designed where you have an overarching plan, a retirement plan. That plan outlines your needs, wants, wishes, wounds, the things you're trying to achieve, all that kind of stuff. That then drives what you need from a retirement income. So we use social capital, human capital, personal use assets that we sell, and we augment that with financial capital. So how much do you need from your investments, essentially to turn that into a reliable, sustainable income? And that then drives your income needs. We don't invest just to invest. We invest for a purpose, for a cause, and for an objective. So when it comes to investing at the macro level, there's really two phases of it. There's what we call accumulation, and there's what's called distribution. So the way I like to think about this is kind of like hiking a mountain. Just like a mountain, there's kind of two sides of it. And the overall goal is not just to simply get to the top, while that is part of the goal. The primary goal is to get up the mountain, safely to the summit, and then safely back down. Years ago, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was stationed in Japan, and I had the opportunity and privilege to climb Mount Fuji. And I can tell you that it was pretty exciting, but coming down was a lot more challenging. Right? Kind of going up, there's some excitement, there's a goal, you're oriented, you're trying to achieve that summit. For us, we were trying to time it right at sunrise. Unfortunately, we got there a little after sunrise. It took us longer to get up there, but we still got up there. But coming back down, I remember coming down a lot more than I remember going up because I was tired, I was wore out. We climbed overnight, and so, now it was hotter during the day. And I was less goal-oriented because we already kind of reached that. And at that point, I just wanted to get done. I just wanted to kind of get it over. I've heard it said that more people die on Mount Everest coming down than go up. And I think it's because a lot of people don't think about the descent. I know for when we climbed Fuji, I never thought about the impacts of it coming down. I only thought about kind of going up the mountain. And I think that's how people approach retirement from an investing perspective as well. They only think about kind of getting up there. They don't really think about getting down the mountain. From an investing perspective, what I think you're really striving for is to have optionality and flexibility. If all goes well perfect. That's what you want. But if storms arise, if problems come, right, they can really, box you in, and you're just trying to weather them. So on the downside, what you want is, you want to be able to live the life that you want, have the income that you want, but you also want optionality and flexibility so that you can pivot and adjust as things occur. Because if you haven't realized this now, life doesn't always work out the way we want to, right? There's bends, there's twists, there's turns, there's curveballs, there's monkey wrenches, all those types of things. So on the accumulation side, what we're doing there is really we're focusing on savings. We're putting money in contributing. We're putting money in different vehicles. And we essentially want growth. But on the distribution side, this is where we're taking money out. It's multifaceted. We want income. There's nuanced rules and laws about how money can come out, when it can come out. There's things that are completely new, like RMDs, required minimum distributions. The risks are a lot more pronounced, the risks of taxes and inflation and longevity and sequence of returns. So there's a lot more things on that backside that you have to think about. And here's the thing. We often think of like mountain climbing, I hit the summit, I'm going up, I summit and I'm down. And so there's a very hard distinction between one and the other. When it comes to retirement planning, it's not really, it's not a smooth transition. Yes, there's a day when I walk away from work and maybe the paychecks stop, but there's a transition that occurs from, generally 3 years out until about 3 years after your retirement. From my experience from dealing with retirees is, it takes about certainly 2 years, a year or two, ideally 3, to kind of really get settled into the identity shift that occurs, the retirement income that occurs, what life looks like. Some of the excitement's past, some of the worries are past, some of the concerns are past, and we start really settling into this new lifestyle that we're creating for ourselves. We've kind of been through the retirement depression for some degree and hopefully have emerged outside of that, and we're really settling into that new life. And hopefully it's prosperous, enjoyable, and purposeful. So it's not just a hard and fast switch on and off. It's more of a gradual transition of about 6 years, generally speaking, prior to coming in and coming out. So the second thing that you really want to understand about this is that there's dependencies. The distribution side is very dependent upon the accumulation side for a couple reasons. Number one, you can't go back. You can't go back and undo things. You can't go back and change things. Once you kind of summit, once you retire, once you're settling into that new life, the decisions, the choices, the actions, the things that you did, the things you didn't do on the accumulation side are going to either enable or constrain the options that you have on the distribution side. Years ago, I read about Jerry Seinfeld when he was on David Letterman one time, and he was talking about how there's nighttime Jerry and morning time Jerry. And nighttime Jerry is fun. He likes to go out and have a good time, associate with friends. And then there's morning time Jerry, who wants to sleep in and has to get up and go to work and all these things. And what he pointed out was that morning time Jerry suffered the consequences, both positive or negative, of nighttime Jerry. If nighttime Jerry had a good night routine, went to bed early, settled down, and got a good amount of rest, morning time Jerry benefited from that. But if nighttime Jerry stayed up too late, didn't eat very well, was out late, spent too much time doom scrolling on his phone before he went to bed, whatever it might be, morning time Jerry is going to suffer the consequences of nighttime Jerry. And here's the thing they point out, which is kind of fascinating, is morning time Jerry can never get back and do anything to hurt nighttime Jerry. Like morning time Jerry always suffered from nighttime Jerry, and morning time Jerry could never go back and get even or get revenge or do anything against nighttime Jerry. It was a one-way street. The same is true about investing in retirement. The decisions, the choices, and the actions, the better you do on the accumulation side, the better potential options you're going to have on the distribution side. The worse you do on the accumulation side, the choices you don't make, the constraints that you put on yourself is going to have a limited effect on distribution side. So ideally, what you're trying to solve for, and at least in my opinion, is an adequate amount to create the income that you want or need or desire in retirement with optionality and flexibility. That's what you're striving for. You're trying to get a means where you can provide the income. So when you walk away from job, your income stops, but you still need income in a retirement that has to last you, ideally, depending on when you're retiring, but 10, 20, maybe 30, maybe even 40 years of income. You have to have income. So the decisions you make on one side impact the other. So what I want to do next here is I want to kind of peel back the onion a little bit and look at the specifics of these two sides and see how you can achieve that adequate income with optionability and flexibility. But first, if you're finding this information valuable or helpful, do me a favor, please hit that like button. It'll help spread this information to others who might need it. Plus, it's a great way to say thank you and show your appreciation for the show. So what I want to do here next is kind of point out some characteristics or attributes or considerations for each side of it. So let's start with the accumulation seed. Accumulation essentially is characterized by saving and putting money in, but you're doing so in different vehicles. So the vehicles is kind of the investment accounts that you have accessible to you. So some of you will have a 401k. Some of you will have a 403b. All of you have the optionality of having a IRA, an individual retirement account, technically called an arrangement, but account. Some of you have options to put in money into Roth accounts, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, Roth 403bs. Some of you are small business owners that have ability to put money into SEP IRAs. Others of you have the optionality to put money into health savings accounts. So if you're in a high deductible healthcare plan, you can potentially have the ability to put money into an HSA. Everybody has the means to put money into a taxable brokerage account. There's no income constraints to that. There's no limits or rules associated with that. Everybody has that optionality. Some of us put money into real estate. Obviously your home that you live in, but also money into real estate rentals. Some people own businesses. So there's a whole bunch of various different vehicles that you can put money into on the accumulation side that you can then utilize on the distribution side. And here's the thing, your goals on the accumulation side are really twofold, right? One, you're trying to get maximum growth. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to, it's the engine. You're trying to propel you forward. You're trying to get up the mountain. So that takes power, it takes torque, it takes energy, it takes push. That's what you're trying to do. But you're also trying to do it in a diversified manner. A lot of people have heard about diversification of investments, meaning you don't put all your eggs into one basket. Like that's the problem. If I met people who only put money into one thing, like all their wealth is in their business, all of their wealth is in their company stock, all of their wealth is in just one thing. The challenge with that is, just like with investing, if you put all your eggs in one basket and that basket, something happens to that basket, you lose all your eggs. So what you're trying to do is, ideally, you're trying to spread out. That's what diversification means, spread out. Like I said, just buying one stock, we buy, ETFs or mutual funds where we're buying, 50 or 100 or hundreds or thousands of different investments inside that one fund or ETF. Ideally, you're trying to do the same thing with a diversification of different vehicles. The more vehicles you can have, the more optionality you have. Because here's the thing, those all have different rules. There's Roth rules, there's 401k rules, there's IRA rules, there's HSA rules. There's so much you can put into real estate and how you can get it out, and businesses and when you can get money out of it, all kinds of stuff. All those vehicles have advantages and limitations that you're trying to, kind of maximize. You're also, trying to get tax diversification. So just like investment concentration is to be avoided, ideally you want tax concentration to be avoided as well. Remember the lady not too long ago? She had all of her, investments in a deferred taxable account. We call that tax infested because there's only, part of that is hers, part of that is Uncle Sam's. He's just waiting to collect on it. She's reaching up upon RMD age. She doesn't really need the money. They're forcing her to take it out. It's going to raise her income. She's going to have IRMA. So she only has one concentration over here that's causing some problems now, right? Whereas if she had multiple venues, multiple vehicles over here. She had more optionality over here, right? She's done a great job. So I'm not trying to, kind of to throw shade at her. I'm just trying to say what you want is you want diversification. There's a primary risk on the accumulation side is the idea that markets go down. But honestly, the way I see it is when you're putting money in and when you're accumulating, right, and things go down, it's like you're buying on sale, right? Whenever you go to Walmart or Target or Home Depot or whatever, you walk in the store and things are on sale, you get excited about it, except for when the stock market goes down. When the stock market goes down and you're on the accumulation, everybody freaks out. I'm selling, I went out, all that kind of stuff. Investing on the accumulation side, really in both sides, it's like a roller coaster. Sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it goes slow, sometimes it's exhilarating, sometimes it's frightening, sometimes it's just flat out nauseating. But here's the thing, if you ride through, you make it to the end, you arrive safely at your destination. The same thing on the accumulation side is, the inflation risk. It doesn't really occur, right? Because you're working for income. And for the most part, your wages and your assets go up over time with inflation. So those things are kind of naturally mitigated. They're there, but they don't play as much of a factor as that you'll see on the distribution side. So let's transition there now. The distribution side. The goals are multifaceted. Over here, we only wanted growth. Well, over here, we want income. We need to take money out. We need a paycheck. Number two, we don't want to run out of money. We don't want to get to the point where all we have is Social Security and we have no other income. That's not where we want to be. We still want or might need some growth. So if we have a 30-year timeline that we're trying to account for, inflation is going to catch us from behind. We still potentially need some growth. You might have legacy goals that you're trying to achieve. You might still need some growth. So that still might play in on this side. And here's the thing. You're trying to minimize, marginalize, or isolate the risks. The risks on the distribution side are a lot more pronounced. Tax risk. When you're putting money in, you get a tax benefit. It's tax deferred. When you take money out, it's a taxable event. Tax rates might go up in the future. All right? We don't know. Right now, obviously, we're trying to think that the tax cuts are going to stay put, which is hopefully the case as of, 1st of July here. We'll see. But 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what's tax risks? We don't know. Inflation is a lot more pronounced because you don't have an income that's being increased. Your Social Security gets a cost of living, which is great. But your investments, if you're living on a fixed income, it buys less and less every year, which means every year you need more money to come out of your accounts, which means inflation risk is more pronounced on the distribution side. Longevity is also another risk. So when you're accumulating, when you put money in, you're not really thinking about how long the money's going to last you. Medical science is getting better. Health, people are becoming more healthier. They're living longer. So longevity becomes more of an issue. So if you retire at 65 or 55 and you live to 100, you have 35 to 45 years of money that you have to plan for. So longevity risk plays in. You weren't really thinking about it when on the accumulation side. Sequence of returns is a new risk that's completely created upon distribution. When you're putting money in on the accumulation side and the market goes down, you're buying on sale. So those dips helps you with dollar cost averaging and accumulation, buying more for your buck, et cetera. But on this side, sequence of returns, if you retire and you're pulling money out and the market goes down and you have to take a higher amount out of your retirement accounts, that can cause a potential problem. It's a risk. Now, there's a whole lot of other risks, and we're going to kind of dive into those more next week. But the idea is what you're trying to do is you're trying to minimize those as much as possible, and they are getting bigger and bigger on this side. In my opinion, the best way to do that really is twofold. Number one is when you retire, we use the bucket approach. We have 3 different jobs. We're trying to get protection, we're trying to get income, we're trying to get growth. So we have 3 different purposes and objectives of money. And ideally, you overlay that with 3 different tax diversification buckets. Taxable, meaning there's no tax advantage. You just pay ordinary income or capital gains rates. Tax deferred, money that we invested and has grown and we pay taxes in the future when we take it out, but we can control the brackets and the amounts that we take out of that account. And ideally, tax-free. Roth accounts or other ways that we can get tax-free income that doesn't hinder us. And we're trying to utilize all three of those tax buckets to get the most tax efficient income out of it. So we have three buckets of purposes, we have three buckets of taxes, and we overlay those overall to get the most income and flexibility and tax efficient distributions we can. So hopefully that makes sense to you. What I want to do next is transition into what hopefully will become a new segment to the show, and that is showing you some use cases. Last week we talked about Rachel and her retirement feasibility and what that looks like. And my hope is that the more you see other people, their use cases, their situations, you'll get more familiarized with how this works. Plus, it'll hopefully give you some more hope of like, okay, if they can retire and this is what they have, maybe we can too. And that's the idea. And collectively, we'll learn together. So Tom and Kay, not their real names, from Idaho, recently completed a retirement litmus test. So a retirement litmus test, just like if you remember from kind of back in high school chemistry days, a litmus test is a very quick test. So you can just kind of put in a little pH thing into water and you can kind of see, is this an asset or is this a base? We had a pool here in Florida. And so we would do tests all the time to see if I needed to add, different chemicals to the thing. And it's just a really quick, where do I stand from, a retirement perspective? It's not a complete plan. It's just a quick, here's where I stand. So if you want one of those personalized litmus tests to get an idea where you stand, you can go to planyourchristianretirement.com. There's a questionnaire. I ask you about 10 to 15 different questions, and I will send you a personalized video of your situation. And if you choose to, like Tom and Kay did, to share it anonymously with others, then I would like to use those to help others get information, learn, grow, and together we will collectively get better. So what I want to do here is dive into their use case and their plan to show you what they've done, where they stand, and their retirement feasibility. So here we are in Right Capital in Tom and Kay Litmus in their profile blueprint area. We can see that Tom and Kay are both 65 years old. They live in the state of Idaho. They provided that as ancillary information. And that is important because of the tax implications. Right Capital will calculate the state tax. So obviously being in Florida or Texas is very different than being in like California or New York from a state tax income perspective. Again, this is just a quick litmus test. So we didn't get into all of their situation. We're primarily focusing on income and assets. So we don't know about their cars. We don't know about their houses, other properties. We do know from an investment perspective, they have about $215,000. Based upon some comments, we believe it to be in a taxable account. Tom and Kay are very conservative investors. They have zero tolerance for the stock market. So they are primarily invested in a money market account. From their goals perspective, Tom is looking to retire at age 67. Kay technically is retired today. From an income perspective, they're looking to get about $5,000 a month. We're making some assumptions that their health care is covered under Tom's current employer and that they will transition to Medicare Part B and supplemental plan when he leaves work. From an income perspective, Tom currently makes $150,000 a year. His Social Security number, according to his statement, is projected to be about 3862 upon full retirement age when he retires. That obviously will go up based upon income and COLAs and inflation, stuff like that, but that's the number that we're using for now. Kay has already started her Social Security. She gets $450 a month. She started her Social Security at age 62, and we'll see in the income streams that she will get spousal benefits once Tom applies for his. They're currently saving about $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month, which is great because they're practicing the idea of living off of what they actually need in retirement. So great job doing savings here, kind of a sprint to the end. So congratulations to them. So when we look at to see their retirement analysis to see how feasible a plan it is, it looks very feasible. So ideally, we're looking for over 70% here. So under 70%, they'd be constrained or restricted. 70 to 90 is feasible, and anything over 90 is overfunded. So from a probability of success perspective, they are overfunded, meaning they have more money than they actually need. And that's based upon a couple of different things. Their primary income needs, as you'll see when they retire, come from their income. So right now, again, Tom's working now. He has a pretty hefty tax bill based upon that income because, kids are grown and gone or kids aren't there. And so it's just them. So he's making a good income. So he pays taxes and they're saving $60,000 a year. When Tom retires, right, essentially the income goes away. He'll turn on Social Security. Tom's benefit is projected to be about almost $45,000. Kay's is continuing to get inflated up over time. But here is where Kay's spousal benefits also turns on because now Tom has applied for his and she can get a bump up of spousal benefits once Tom applies for it. So they have an income of about $65,000 just from Social Security. They need about $60,000. So they're not really touching their investment accounts at all. So if we go back to the summary here, you can see, in for example, year 70, we'll pick on that one. They have about $75,000 of income from primary Social Security. They have about $77,000 of expenses, no tax because Social Security gets preferential tax income. They're not taking a lot out. They basically pay no tax forever. It's great from that perspective. And they're just utilizing a little bit of money from their investment accounts. Now, in terms of what they're trying to get here, right now, based upon a straight money market account, looks at a 10-year average, you're getting about 2% of the money. So right now, they're getting more than that. A money market account paying now is somewhere paying between around 4% or so. And Tom and Kay might get that, throughout their whole retirement journey. They might not. If they cut rates, we might go back to lower, rates. We had a zero rate for a long time. Back in the 80s, we had, double digits. So we have no idea what it's going to be. But Tom's hoping to get about 4.5% interest rate. So just to show you the nuance of this, of if they were in a more, account getting 4.5% over their retirement journey, we can see what that would look like. Their probability of success. Now, we don't have an account doing that, so this gets a little bit more, but just to show you the nuance of investing here, is they have a lot more median value at the end, even a higher probability of success. And so the more aggressive, for example, that they got, they don't have any tolerance for this, so they probably won't do it. But you can see they don't really need the income, so they could grow up for legacy goals, for other risks that might occur if they so choose to. But overall, their retirement plan is definitely very feasible. Now, there's obviously risks from this. If we look at it from a resiliency perspective and we start to stress test this a little bit, some of the things, are not so feasible, right? Their retirement income is completely dependent upon Social Security, as an example. If Social Security goes away, which it won't, they have some problems there. Longevity. So if they live longer than anticipated, right now we have it going out to 90, they might run into problems there. So, they still have some work to do, but from a straight litmus test of feasibility, they look like they'll be on track to execute their plan based upon the limited information that we have collected from them. So good job, Tom and Kay. So thanks again to Tom and Kay for being willing to share. Hopefully you've gotten some more insight that you can now apply to your retirement as well. As we conclude today's show, if you're still with me, please consider subscribing. It'll help spread this information to others who might need it. And more importantly, you'll be notified of future episodes. Today, we talked about taking a larger view or opening the aperture as it pertains to investing for retirement. Now, ideally, all this should be considered in conjunction with an overall comprehensive plan, one that considers your retirement aspirations, goals, income needs, timing, and a whole lot more. I understand how overwhelming, confusing this can be. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments below, or you can send an email to mike@truewealth.show. But for today, a good micro action for this week might be explore just one change that you can make as it pertains to your investing approach that will give you greater flexibility, optionality, and income when it comes to coming down the mountain. And here's an idea. Maybe share those in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. Remember, retirement is about safely climbing the mountain, retiring, and then getting safely down as well. Hopefully this helps you on your path to a prosperous, enjoyable, and purposeful retirement. Till next time, hope you have a great day. For taking the time to watch this week's episode of the True Wealth Retirement Show. But just a couple more things before you leave. Number one, if you're looking for any help with your retirement planning, or you know anyone who might be looking for some help, I offer a 30-minute, no cost, no obligation conversation to anyone, and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Number two, if you're looking for some resources to help plan your retirement, check out planyourchristianretirement.com. And one final note before we wrap up. While I hope this information is helpful and valuable and insightful to you, it's really meant for informational and educational purposes only. Prior to making any decisions or taking any actions, I strongly encourage you to talk to your legal, tax, estate, or financial advisor who's familiar with the unique circumstances of your particular personal situation. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, hope you have a great day. God bless you.